Remaster, remake, remaster, remake, remaster, remake, remaster, remake. You are tired of hearing those words, but are they actually useful? Yes. Or are just nostalgia bait to make you pay twice for the same game? Yes. I would assume if you click on this video, you already know what a remaster and a remake is. But in case you still have doubts considering how each company tends to give them their own interpretation, I'm just gonna explain mine in the most simple way I can. Remakes are basically when a game director grabs a game that already exists and says, nah, let's do it again. Pretty much like me doing this video for the second time this week. I'm fine. And remastered games are games that already exist and developers try to restore it and improve it as faithful as possible. Basically the entire opposite of whatever GTA Definitive Edition was. We can say at this point it's the Eche Homo with the industry, no? Now that you understand these concepts, I'm gonna validate your opinion like a good boy, good girl, or
please select which body type you identify with.
Companies do want to sell you nostalgia. You are not wrong. They are fully aware that the public from those games is still around, somewhere, depending how inflation hits you or not, at your own place, with your own family still, with a bigger income that you had when you were a kid, and they want more of your money. Certainly, it's also an easier way to sell a game without having to reinvent the wheel, while also using the same IP.
Intellectual property.
You always care for, dissect it and resell it to you since it's something you already liked in the past before. Cause if it's not broken, don't fix it. Right? Right? This is where the funny part starts. If you think about broken games, the games that you will go to your mind will probably like Cyberpunk 2077, maybe Assassin's Creed Unity, Starfield, No Man's Sky. All those games had valid statements to be called broken. Some already fixed, others not so much. But do you think any of these games need a remaster or a remake? Probably not, cause they are not so old right now to begin with. So, if they don't need a remake or a remaster, are they actually broken in the first place? Eventually, considering how gaming has evolved, or unevolved, the "we can patch it later" formula made companies release rushed games that can actually be fixed later on, despite being broken. So what games do even need remasters or remakes? Let me answer this with a simple question. Do you still own every console you always had? Or even better, do you even have a disc reader on your PC nowadays? Most people don't. That already make a huge amount of games unplayable nowadays. And before you come and say, actually, yes, I know, this is called digital obsolescence, but still stands my point. You cannot come to me and complain about how companies don't want to preserve video games while at the same time try to keep them from the majority of people that play them in the first place. There are even games on Steam nowadays that you need to master 3 careers due to how old they are to make them actually playable on your PC, and you can buy them in that state. They are not removed from there. But let's be real here though, companies won't fix them out of nowhere if they can't make money out of it. As harsh as it sounds, sometimes it's not really worth in a grand scale to fix a game with a proper patch if only 2 people are gonna play it. Now, is the solution to this? Re-release games but cheaper just to make everyone content and companies make more money? Maybe? I guess? I feel like a lot of people are not upset by the fact that most of the time they are buying ROMs, as long as it's in a collection of games with stuff like art and soundtrack, instead of just like reselling you the old game as it was and that's it. My only concern with re-releasing games is that whenever the new consoles come out, like let's say PlayStation 6, to put an example, are we gonna come to this whole process again of re-releasing games, or are they finally gonna stay in a cloud server and stay there forever? Are we just gonna start selling ROMs every once in a while to make everyone happy, or are they here for a limited time so they can sell it again for a 3rd time in a row? Certainly this can also be applied for remakes and remasters in the future as well, since digital obsolescence is something that we are gonna eventually deal with at some point. So, does this mean we all want remasters to our old favorite games? Usually yes, but it's one of those things that you think to yourself, well, if they are not gonna make a remake, I guess I can suffice with this. Unless you're a purist, or at the very least, you pretend to be one. Personally, I appreciate those remasters that tweak the controls and balance certain aspects and bugs from the old games. Eventually, I am referring on the infamous and obsolete tank controls on the first 3D games that appear. But I also refer just the ability to bind the buttons you want, and as for the graphics, I appreciate those remasters that allow you to put the game exactly how it was back in the day with just a button, like the button you can press to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Now that I pat your head a lot and tell you what you wanted to hear about remasters, I will put some salt in the wood that you already know. Remakes are not only for you. In fact, I would argue that remakes don't even care about you in the first place. I already stated that remakes and remasters are nostalgia baits. And yes, eventually this is a big part of why they exist. But you never thought about the fact that maybe remakes are there for the new generations to play those games with famous IPs that you already have heard from, well, you? Gaming has grown a lot since you started playing, and more people enter gaming, casual and potential hardcores. But what do you think is more effective for a young blood? Emulating games you used to play 20 years ago without any type of help, or that maybe YouTube and no reference, or that maybe people like you telling them, back at your age, I used to play, like an old man yelling at clouds. Or a brand new game with characters you know they look so good in the newer graphics, despite your nostalgia for the old ones, and even if they make a game that doesn't respect at all the old game in the first place to make it illegible to your eyes, chances are the new publisher is gonna buy the new one instead of trying to tinker the old one. By the way, I already have a video talking about graphics and art style. Before you put me any type of Bible in the comment section below, I'm not trying to enter in a debate if realism graphics is better than Toon or not, cause it's stupid. It's like comparing apples with oranges. They are two different things. What I'm trying to say here is that yes, companies do want to use your nostalgia to gain money out of it with the remakes and remasters. But if I had to compare these two, I would say that remasters want your money direct from your source, since companies are fully aware that if you buy a remaster, chances are that you either emulate or you know at the very least what emulation is, but you are just too tired or it's too hard for you to try it. And remakes just use your nostalgia as hype, like a trampoline to attract new people. I mean, they do want your money, but they are willing to sacrifice you if that means they are gonna sell more, regardless how faithful those games are or not. A good example of this is Crash Bandicoot. The new trilogy is very faithful to the old ones, to the point that this is an upgrade in every single way, and while the majority of the fans we do like the new trilogy, we like the art style of the old one equally, if not more. At the same time, it really depends on who does the remake. Some devs can have a change of heart on how they would make an old game as it was nowadays and try to remake it with a new version in mind, and others believe that what it was the best and just gonna make it as faithful as they can with more graphics and inputs. Now, that being said, do I think every remake and remaster is justified properly? Look at me in the eyes with a straight face and tell me that Horizon Zero Dawn and Last of Us Remaster 1 and 2 are justified. Do you really think this is justified? Or this? However, there is something interesting I want to point out about remasters in particular. I feel like in my case, they made me realize there were games that I didn't really miss much in the first place. The other day I was playing the remaster of Croc, a very old 3D platformer, and I played for a few minutes and my reaction was something like, very nice remaster, kinda boring. Let me show you why. And as for the remakes, I just tend to treat them as different games. Sometimes different visually, sometimes different in general. Every time that I have to praise Activision Blizzard, a piece of my soul evaporates in the sun.
No! No!
But I have to admit that their remasters are so good in terms of making them new but faithful that I have to treat them as remakes, especially knowing they had to do everything from scratch. So are these versions really useful or not? Yes, they are. The whole debate only starts not because we are tired of them, it's because most people, including myself, are tired when they start making remakes of games we loved and they are not as faithful as they were. But if they do remakes and remasters we like, no one complains. People that are against remasters or remakes are the same people that claim that creativity is lost. And at the same time, yell at companies that they want old games back because the new ones are just chores of hundreds of hours to play, but when they try to be creative with the remakes, they cry even more about it. Invalidating remakes and remasters whenever we want doesn't make the whole concept of them being wrong. You are just mad that there is a game you don't like with the same name of a game that you do like. That being said, if you need to zoom in 200% to notice the difference between the original and the new game, call me crazy, but maybe, just maybe, you don't need a remaster or remake to begin with. I guess at the end of the day, as long as you realize that these versions are likely not for you, despite you being that person that played them the original ones, you're just gonna accept more how normal and healthy are for the industry. Does this mean you gotta like them though? No, not really, there are a lot of them that I don't like. But it's the same as just another game. The old game is gonna still be there at the end of the day. I hope you all liked this video, and if you did, leave a like and subscribe for more videos. You help me a lot if you subscribe to this channel. I'll see you all in the next one.